My name is Elena Rostova, and I'm 32 years old. If you'd asked me a few months ago to describe my life, I would have said it was steady. Not glamorous, not tragic, just solid in a way that made sense to me. I work in tech as a data scientist at a data consulting firm in Seattle. I make decent money, around $158,000 a year. Not rich, not yacht club fancy, but comfortable. I drive a paid-off 2017 Toyota Camry. Live in Annis, one bedroom. Apartment in Capitol Hill. And I've got about $50,000 a year. Not rich, not yacht club fancy, but comfortable. I drive a paid-off 2017 Toyota Camry. Live in a nice one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. And I've got about $118,000 a year. Not rich, not yacht club fancy, but comfortable. There I drive a paid-off 2017 Toyota Camry. Live in Annis, one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. And I've got about $94,000 saved up between my 401k and my emergency fund. I'm telling you this because in the end, this whole thing turned out to be about money. Or at least that was the excuse everyone could point at. The truth was uglier and quieter than that. My life runs on systems. My dishwasher kicks on at 12:01 a.m. to catch the off-peak power rates. Every Sunday at 5:00 p.m., my budget spreadsheet updates itself. Color-coded formulas, locked projections tucked neatly into hidden tabs only I ever see. That sheet is my ballast. As long as the numbers line up, I feel like my life does too. At the center of that steady life was my boyfriend of 3 years, Liam Mercer. We met in May 2022 at a friend's rooftop birthday party. He was a marketing coordinator at a mid-tier lifestyle brand making around $62,000 a year. Money never felt like a big thing between us. We split dates pretty evenly. Maybe I picked up the checks 60% of the time, but it felt natural fare. He was funny charming in a way that didn't feel forced, and he loved trying new restaurants. We just clicked. I thought we were building something real. That first year was incredible. Weekends exploring different neighborhoods, hole-in-the-wall restaurants, free concerts in Gasworks Park. He never complained about my car or my apartment. He said it felt cozy, like a place real people live. We talked about future plans, maybe moving in together, adopting a dog, saving for a trip to Europe when we had enough. It all felt genuine. If there were red flags back then, they were still the tiny kind you can fold down and tuck into your pocket, easy to ignore. About 6 months ago, things started to shift. We'd be watching some travel show on Netflix, and he'd say, "Can you imagine just flying first class to Bora Bora on a whim like that?" I'd laugh and say, "Give me 2 promotions and a couple more solid quarters, and I'll see what I can do." His smile would fade just a little, not enough to call out, just enough that I noticed. Then it was Instagram. He'd linger a little too long on posts with engagement rings the size of Marble's designer bags, infinity pools, soft filtered shots of soft life mornings with latte art and floor-to-ceiling windows, influencer couples posing in matching linen outfits on private beaches. He'd show me one and say, "They're our age." "You know, I'm sure their credit card debt is our age too," I'd joke. He wouldn't laugh as much as he used to. Then there were his friends Sophie, Tara, and Nina. We'd go out with them maybe twice a month. They were nice enough, but every conversation somehow drifted back to money. Sophie's boyfriend Jason had just bought her a Cartier bracelet to celebrate her birthday and the dog's adoption. Tara's boyfriend Mark surprised her with a weekend in Cabo. Nina's boyfriend Alex leased her a BMW for her birthday because she deserved to be in something that matches her energy. Every time we hung out with them, Liam went a little quieter on the way home. One night, I tested the waters. "You okay?" I asked as we walked back to my car, the air thick with that humid Seattle summer feeling. "Yeah," he said, staring at the BMW Alex had just driven off in. "It's just crazy the kind of thing some guys can do for their girlfriends." "You mean like buying a depreciating asset with leather seats?" I teased lightly. "You know my stance on car payments." He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, I know." 3 months ago, he started pulling away, less texting during the day. When I sent him memes or photos of my chaotic office lunches, I'd get one-word responses hours later. LOL, nice, yikes. Our Friday date nights turned into, "I'm tired. Can we move it to tomorrow? Then next week, then I've got this work thing." I went from seeing him 3 or 4 times a week to maybe once every 10 days. Finally, on a Tuesday night in mid-July, I pushed. We were in my living room. Thai takeout spread out on the coffee table. The pad thai was going cold. The curry had formed that thin skin on top. "Liam," I said, "what's going on?" He didn't look up from his phone. "What do you mean? You barely text me anymore. We barely see each other. Every time I suggest plans, you're exhausted or busy. Did I do something, or are you just hoping I'll take the hint and fade out on my own?" He He set his phone down, slowly sighed, and stared at the blank TV screen. "I just feel like we're not progressing," he said. "Like, where is this relationship actually going, Elena?" I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean? We've literally talked about moving in together. We have a shared note labeled dog names, remember?" "Yeah, but that's conceptual," he said, waving his hand. "I mean, in real life, everyone around us is leveling up, and it feels like we're stuck." I took a breath and did the thing I always do when I'm scared. I reached for data. "I'm actively saving for a down payment," I said quietly. "I have a timeline. I was planning to talk to you about it in a couple of months." His eyes flicked to my laptop on the counter, then back to me. "Show me," he said. So I did. I opened the spreadsheet. Tabs for savings, projected bonuses, conservative investment growth, a timeline for when I could realistically buy a condo, big enough for 2 people and a medium-sized dog. A rough ring budget tucked into a hidden tab he didn't notice. "This is impressive," he said, but his voice sounded far away. "I just don't know if it's enough." Enough? The word lodged somewhere under my ribs, sharp and cold. I didn't know it then, but that word would come back in a way I couldn't ignore. 2 weeks later, everything blew up. It was Saturday night, August 24th. Nina's 28th birthday dinner at an upscale Italian place downtown called the Obsidian. The kind of restaurant with cloth napkins, a wine list thicker than my lease, and a sommelier who made eye contact like he knew your credit score. I wore a simple black dress and low heels, not designer, but well-fitted good fabric. My jewelry was minimal, small gold hoops, a thin bracelet my mom gave me when I got my promotion. When I arrived at 7:30 p.m., Liam barely glanced at me from the bar. He was already 2 glasses of Prosecco deep, laughing loudly with his friends. For a moment, I felt like a +1 to my own relationship. Our group had a long table near the window overlooking Elliott Bay. Candles flickered on white tablecloths. Soft jazz floated above the clink of silverware. I sat next to Liam, who immediately twisted in his chair to talk to Sophie on his other side about some influencer drama. I ordered a beer and tried to make conversation with Jason about the Seahawks' terrible season. He was polite, but his eyes kept drifting to his phone. Halfway through dinner, after the overpriced bruschetta and calamari, Jason started talking about the Tesla Model S he just bought. Brand new, fully loaded $105,000. Everyone oohed and awed like he'd announced the birth of his firstborn. He pulled out his phone, showing off pictures of the white exterior, the massive touchscreen, the insane acceleration. Mark chimed in about looking at a Model X, and Alex started talking about closing on a 2-bedroom condo in Belltown for $550,000. A steal with the way the neighborhood's going. Then Mark, who worked at a startup, started in on his stock options and what he'd cash out if they IPO'd. I stayed quiet. I'm not a flashy person. I don't need my net worth to be a party trick. I cut into my chicken parmesan, focused on not dropping sauce on my dress. That's when it happened. "Yeah, well," Liam said loudly with a little laugh that had just enough edge to it. "Elena's still driving the car she had in college." The table went quiet for a second. Then came the awkward chuckles, the kind people use when they're not sure if they're supposed to laugh or look away. Heat rushed up my neck. I felt every eye at the table slide toward me. "It's paid off," I said calmly, meeting Liam's eyes. "No debt, no monthly payments." He rolled his eyes dramatically, took another sip of wine. "That's not the flex you think it is, babe." Something in my chest tightened. My fork hovered over my plate. I could feel the candle flame flicker beside my hand, the clink of dishes, the low murmur of other conversations around us. I set my fork down carefully. "Excuse me," I said softly. "I'm going to use the restroom." I walked past the bar, past couples leaning close over shared plates of pasta, and into the bathroom. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, I gripped the edge of the sink and stared at myself. "You're fine," I told my reflection. "He's drunk. He's showing off. You can talk about it tomorrow." I ran cold water over my wrists, took 2 slow breaths, and went back out. As I walked toward the table, weaving between servers carrying wine and tiramisu, I heard him. His voice wasn't as low as he thought it was. "I just don't see her ever being at the level I want," Liam was saying to Sophie. "She's comfortable, like she's okay being mediocre. No real ambition to level up. She's content with good enough." I stopped 3FT behind his chair. The words didn't feel like they were being spoken about me. They felt like a verdict being read aloud in a courtroom. Final. Public. I loosened my grip on the back of an empty chair, walked around, and sat down in my seat without a word. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I smiled when people spoke directly to me, nodded when appropriate, and counted down the minutes until I could leave. When we finally stepped outside around 10:45 p.m., the cool night air hit my face like a blessing. Liam was tipsy, giggling with the others leaning on Jason's arm as they walked. "I'll drive you home," I said quietly. "You've had too much." He waved me off. "I'm staying at Jason's. We're doing a guys' night watching the game or whatever." "All right," I said, keeping my voice even. "Text me when you get there safe." "Yeah, sure," he said, already turning away. I started walking toward the parking garage, my heels clicking against the sidewalk. I'd gotten maybe 20 FT when his voice cut through the noise of honking cars and distant sirens. "You know what, Elena?" he shouted. I stopped but didn't turn around. "You'll never be good enough for me." Everything went silent. Sophie's laughter died mid-breath. A couple walking their dogs stopped. A group smoking outside a bar all turned at once. I turned slowly. He was standing there in his fitted black shirt and expensive sneakers, arms crossed, mascara smudged. No, that was mine. I realized numbly, probably streaked under my eyes now. He looked at me like I was the problem, like he'd just announced something obvious and was waiting for me to accept it. His friends stared at him with wide eyes, shocked, uncomfortable. I smiled. Not the real kind. The kind you use when you're done pretending. "You're probably right," I said, my voice steady and loud enough for all of them to hear. Then I turned back around, walked to my car, got in, and drove away. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream or punch the dashboard. I didn't call him names in my head. I just drove through the city lights in complete silence. My mind strangely calm, as if some part of me had been waiting to hear him say those words out loud. When I got home around 11:15 p.m., I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon, sat on my couch in the dark, and stared at the black TV screen for 2 hours. My phone lay face down on the coffee table. It buzzed a few times. I didn't reach for it. I already knew nothing on that screen could change what I just heard. Sunday morning, my phone was the first thing I saw. I'd fallen asleep on the couch at some point, bourbon glass half full on the coffee table TV still black. Light was coming in through the blinds and thin gray stripes. My neck ached. My mascara was definitely ruined. For a few seconds, I just lay there listening to the hum of the fridge and the faint traffic outside. Then my brain remembered the words I'd heard on the sidewalk. "You'll never be good enough for me." It felt like waking up into a nightmare that hadn't ended overnight. I reached for my phone like it might bite me. 14 missed calls. The notification banner was a block of Liam's name, stacked over and over, and then further down 3 other names in a row. Sophie, Tara, Nina. I opened the text from Liam first. "Liam, Elena, please pick up." "Liam, I'm so sorry." "Liam, I was drunk. I didn't mean any of it." "Liam, can we please talk? Liam, I love you. Please don't ignore me, Liam. You're not mediocre. I was just being stupid." "Liam, please. I'm begging you." I scrolled and scrolled. Somewhere around 3:17 a.m., the tone shifted from pleading to panicked. "Liam, are you really going to throw 3 years away over one fight, Liam? Please answer me. Liam, say something." I set the phone down. My hands were trembling, but it wasn't from grief. It was that whole body adrenaline crash after an accident. The impact was over, but my nervous system hadn't caught up. 3 unread messages from the group popped up next. Sophie. "Hey, I'm really sorry about tonight. That was completely out of line. You didn't deserve that." Tara. "We told him off after you left." Like really told him off. He was way out of pocket. "I'm so sorry you had to hear that." Nina. "I need you to know that after you left, we all laid into him. I told him he humiliated the best woman he's ever dated in front of everyone for no reason. Sophie called him shallow and obsessed with appearances. Tara said he was acting like an insecure jerk who doesn't know what he has. He started crying and saying he didn't mean it, that he was just frustrated with his life and job. Honestly, I think he's been listening to too much toxic crap from influencers who think a man's worth is his wallet. You deserve so much better. I'm really sorry my birthday got ruined." I read Nina's message twice. Best woman he's ever dated. The compliment slid right off me. The only thing that stuck was the phrase, "he started crying." Because of course he did. Once there was an audience to witness his regret. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I put my phone face down again, went to the kitchen, and started coffee. Muscle memory took over, scooped the grounds, filled the reservoir, pressed the button. My hands still shook when I lifted the mug. By 10:00 a.m., I had reread the messages enough times to know there was nothing in them that could rewind last night. I scrolled to another contact and hit call. "Hey, stranger." Becca answered, her voice still raspy with sleep. "You okay? It's Sunday. You never call this early unless something's on fire." "Something's on fire," I said. My voice sounded weirdly calm, like it belonged to someone else. "Talk," she said immediately, fully awake now. So I told her everything from the slow shift over the last few months to the Tesla and condo, bragging at dinner, to Liam's comment about my car, to the words he said on the sidewalk. I recited his sentence exactly. Saying it out loud felt like tasting metal. Becca was silent for a long moment. Finally, she said, "Wow, okay. First of all, I want to personally drive over there and staple his mouth shut." A laugh burst out of me. Sharp, humorless, but it was something. "I'm serious," she went on. "Second, you did the right thing, walking away. And third, do not respond to him at all. Let him sit in what he did." "He called like 14 times," I said. "Good," she replied. "He should feel desperate. He told you you'd never be good enough for him in front of a crowd, Elena. That's nuclear. You don't come back from that with a 'sorry, babe, I was drunk.' What if—" I started, then stopped. "What if what?" She pressed. "What if I overreacted? It was one night, one fight, one sentence." People say things they don't mean when they're drunk. People say things they've been thinking but didn't have the guts to say sober, Becca countered. Alcohol doesn't plant new thoughts. It just loosens the filter. He didn't invent that sentence last night. He's been building it for months. I stared at the steam rising from my coffee. "I was going to propose," I said quietly. "Not immediately, but I had a plan. A savings tab labeled Ring hidden in my spreadsheet. I had a whole timeline." "I know," she said softly. "And that's exactly why you can't let this slide. You were planning a future. He was planning an upgrade." The words hit a place deep in my chest. "Let him feel the silence," Becca said firmly. "Go live your life. Go to the gym. Go bury yourself in spreadsheets, but don't feed him any hope right now. He needs to understand there are consequences." "Okay," I said. "Say it like you mean it." "Okay," I repeated, this time stronger. We hung up. I put my phone back on, do not disturb, and left it on the kitchen counter like an object I was distancing myself from. Monday at work, I didn't even pretend to be socially functional. I set my phone to D&D, flipped it face down in my drawer, and attacked a complex portfolio analysis I'd been avoiding for weeks. It was a monster of a project. Multiple accounts, market projections, sensitivity scenarios, but the numbers were clean, predictable. They behaved if you treated them right. I liked that about them. My boss stopped by my desk around noon. "You okay?" he asked, resting a hand on the cubicle wall. "You've been zoned in all morning. I haven't seen you blink." "I'm just in the zone," I said, forcing a small smile. "Figured I'd finally slay this dragon." "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it," he said. "Your last few reports were top-notch." I went back to my spreadsheets like they were a lifeboat. Tuesday was the same. Head down, working through lunch, staying until 7:00 p.m. My coworkers chatted about weekend plans by the coffee machine. I nodded, smiled, stayed on the periphery. It was easier not to talk. Every time I checked my notifications, there were new missed calls, new texts from Liam. They blurred into white noise. Apology, panic bargaining, declarations of love. I didn't open them. I just watched the number tick up and added another row to my financial projections. On Wednesday evening, around 6:30 p.m., I was standing in my kitchen heating up leftover pizza when there was a knock at my door. I froze. Nobody knocked on my door unannounced except Amazon and bad news. I walked slowly to the peephole and looked through. Liam. He looked wrecked. Puffy red eyes, no gel, and his usually styled hair, wearing a faded hoodie and joggers instead of the curated outfits he usually picked for social media. He had his phone in one hand, a crumpled tissue in the other. "Elena, please," he said when I opened the door a crack. "Can I come in?" I could have slammed the door. I could have told him to leave and text me like an adult. I could have ignored him completely. Instead, I took a slow breath, opened the door wider, and stepped aside. He walked in, moving like he was older than he was, and sat down on the couch, the exact spot where I'd sat alone on Saturday night, staring at the blank TV. The symmetry made my skin prickle. "I was drunk and stupid," he started immediately, his voice shaking. "I've been under so much pressure at work with the new campaign, and my friends keep talking about houses and cars and promotions, and I snapped. I didn't mean any of it." Which part? I asked quietly, leaning against the armchair opposite him. The part where you called my car a joke, or the part where you said I'd never be good enough for you? He flinched. All of it, he said. I'm just frustrated. I feel like my life is stuck and everyone else is ahead, and it all came out wrong. So it's not that you think I'm mediocre, I said evenly. It's just that you're frustrated with your life. He hesitated, and that half-second pause told me more than the next paragraph of words. It's not like that, he protested weakly. I just wanted more. More of what? I asked. Because I work hard every single day. I'm loyal. I've never lied to you or disrespected you. I've been there through your job, stress, your family drama, your friends' messes. I was literally planning a future with you. What more could you possibly want that you don't already have? He stared down at his hands, twisting the tissue. Tears started to fall, dark spots blooming on his sweatpants. I don't know, he whispered. Everyone else is leveling up. New cars, new condos, bigger jobs, and we're still living like we're 25. I repeated. You mean I'm not throwing enough money at the optics? That's not fair, he snapped, then caught himself. His shoulders sagged. Maybe I started comparing you. Comparing us to who? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. To people with Teslas and riverfront condos and curated feeds. He didn't say it. He didn't have to. You said I'd never be good enough for you, I said quietly. In public, in front of your friends. You humiliated me, Liam. I didn't mean it, he said, reaching toward me. I stepped back. His hand dropped. I swear, Elena, I didn't mean it. I was drunk and jealous and stupid. I love you. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. I'll do anything. You didn't invent those words Saturday night, I said, my chest strangely calm. You've been thinking them for a while. You can apologize for saying them out loud, but you can't take back that you believe them. He shook his head frantically. I don't think you're mediocre. I think I'm a failure and I projected. That's not better, I cut in. If anything, that's worse, because now I'm supposed to be your emotional punching bag for your insecurities. His mouth opened and closed like he couldn't find the right rebuttal. I need space, I said, my voice firm. Real space. No texts, no calls, no surprise visits. I need to figure out what I want my life to look like, if this is who you've become. So that's it, he choked out. 3 years and you're just walking away. You did that on Saturday night, I replied. I'm just catching up. Tears streamed down his face now. He stood up slowly, looking around my apartment like he was memorizing it. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. I know, I said, but sorry isn't a time machine. I walked to the door and opened it. For a second, he just stood there like he was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. He stepped into the hallway, wiping his face with the back of his hand, and walked away, shoulders hunched. I closed the door gently, leaned my forehead against it, and realized something. I wasn't devastated. I'd expected to collapse, to sob, to feel like my heart had been carved out. Instead, I felt empty, clear, like someone had wiped a dirty window, and I could finally see what was on the other side. I locked the door, turned off my phone, and went back to my lukewarm pizza, suddenly starving. Somewhere deep down, I knew that chapter was over. I just didn't know yet how messy the next one was going to be. A week passed. A full, quiet week where my life shrank down to 2 things, work and the gym. I didn't check social media. I didn't check Liam's messages. I didn't check the group chat with Sophie and the others. I muted everything. I let silence do its job. Every morning, I dragged myself out of bed at 6:00 a.m. and went to the gym. I don't know what switch flipped, but moving my body felt like the only thing I could control. I wasn't trying to be stronger or healthier or reinvent myself. I was just trying to feel something that wasn't disappointment. By the end of the week, I'd gone 5 days in a row. My muscles hurt, but it felt like a clean kind of pain. By Friday, the fog had thinned just enough for reality to settle. This wasn't a pause. This was the unraveling. I didn't cry about it. I just adapted. Then on the following Saturday afternoon, exactly 1 week after the dinner, I got a call I wasn't expecting. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter as I was slicing cucumbers for a salad I wasn't excited to eat. Tara. She never called me directly. My stomach dropped. I answered. Hey, I said cautiously. Elena, hi, she said, breathless. I need to tell you something and you're going to be furious. I set the knife down slowly. What's going on? She exhaled shakily. It's about Liam. Of course it was. You should sit down, she added. I'm fine. I said, though my legs felt weirdly light. Just tell me. Tara lowered her voice like someone might overhear her through the phone. He's been texting his ex. My chest tightened, not in heartbreak, more in a cold, familiar way. The kind you feel when something predicted finally happens. Which ex? I asked, even though I already knew. Isabella, she whispered. Isabella Vane. The gorgeous, high-income, high-status ex. The one Liam always swore he'd never speak to again because she treated him like an accessory. The one who went to expensive galas and posted designer hauls and once dated a hedge fund manager who owned a penthouse with skyline views. That Isabella. How do you know? I asked, my voice steady in a way that felt almost eerie. Because Jason saw them, Tara said. Yesterday, he was walking to a client meeting on First Avenue and saw Liam and Isabella sitting together outside Starbucks Reserve, like laughing, comfortable, catching up. I stared at my countertop. What time? I asked. 3:00 in the afternoon. Workday hours, not even an attempt at secrecy. I'm sending you the picture, Tara said. Please don't freak out. A second later, my phone buzzed. I opened the photo. There they were, Liam and Isabella sitting at a small outdoor table, iced coffees in hand. Isabella in a blue floral dress, ironically one that looked strikingly similar to the one I wore on our anniversary last year. She was leaning forward, smiling. Liam's face was relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in months. Everything inside me went still, not shattered, not burning, just quiet. Elena. Tara's voice trembled through the speaker. Are you okay? Yes, I said. And I was utterly unexpectedly okay because suddenly everything aligned. Every weird comment, every distant moment, every subtle comparison, every insecurity he projected onto me. He wasn't confused. He wasn't overwhelmed. He wasn't lost. He was looking for something shinier, something easier for him to show off, something that fit the image he decided he needed to project. Thank you for telling me, I said softly. Elena, I'm so sorry, Tara whispered. We all are. He lied to all of us, too. It's fine, I said. Really? What are you going to do? I stared at the picture of the two of them. The answer was suddenly obvious. I'm going to text him, I said. Why? What are you going to say? Exactly what needs to be said. I hung up. My fingers didn't tremble as I typed. We're done. Don't contact me again. I hit send. 30 seconds later, my phone lit up. Incoming call from Liam. I declined it. A second text came through, visibly frantic. Liam, Elena, please let me explain. It's not what it looks like. Sure it wasn't. Liam. She reached out to apologize for everything. That's all. We just talked. I swear to God nothing happened. I love you. Please don't do this. I blocked the number. Then I blocked him on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Venmo, everywhere he could possibly reach me. Silence for the first time all week felt comforting. I sat back down, looked at the photo again, and realized something I hadn't fully articulated until that moment. I wasn't mad he met up with her. I wasn't even mad he'd lied. I was relieved. He had finally shown me the truth clearly and cleanly. The version of himself he tried to hide behind insecurities and apologies. This was the real one, the restless one, the one who would always chase the next shiny thing instead of appreciating what was steady and real. I deleted the photo, closed my messages, and went back to slicing cucumbers. For the first time since the breakup, my hand was steady. 2 weeks passed. 2 full weeks of quiet, predictable days, just how I liked them. My phone stayed clean. My routines tightened. My sleep improved. My brain slowly unclenched from that permanent wince it had been stuck in. By the second week, I felt almost normal again. Then, on a Friday night around 8:00 p.m., I was stretched out on my couch, sipping a beer and half watching a Mariners game when my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Sophie. I frowned. She rarely called me unless something was wrong. I answered, "Hey, what's up?" Her voice came out fast, too fast, nervous. "Elena, I wanted to give you a heads up about something, and I'm really sorry in advance." My stomach dropped in a dull, unhurried way. "What happened?" She paused like she was bracing herself. "It's Liam," she said. "Finally, he and Isabella are officially dating again." I blinked, then blinked again. "Oh," I said, and to my surprise, my true, honest surprise, it barely registered. Maybe a faint pinch, but nothing sharp. Nothing that knocked the air out of me. "You're not upset?" Sophie asked carefully. "No," I said. "I'm really not." "Okay, good, because that's not actually the part I needed to tell you." I sat up straighter. "Then what's going on?" Sophie exhaled hard like she'd been holding the story in all day. Nina saw them at dinner on Tuesday, she said, and it was bad, like really bad. I waited. Isabella ordered for both of them without even asking what Liam wanted. Sophie continued. Appetizers, drinks, entree. She spent half the night talking about her firm's charity gala and what she expects their image to be. Their image? I repeated. Oh yeah, Sophie said. She's apparently giving him notes on how he dresses, how he talks, how he networks, what kind of watch he should wear like he's a rebranding project, Nina said. Liam looked miserable. I felt a faint tug in my chest. Not sympathy exactly, more like recognition, a final puzzle piece clicking into place. And it gets worse, Sophie said. Claire ran into them at a cafe on Wednesday. Liam spent the entire time on his phone doing work emails, ignoring her. Isabella was trying to talk to him about some influencer couple she wants them to emulate, and he was just glazed over. I leaned back, letting that image settle. Sounds like they're perfect for each other, I said dryly. Sophie let out a tired laugh. Honestly, it felt like watching two people play roles instead of being in a relationship. So why the heads up? I asked. A beat of silence. Because, she said gently, I don't want you walking into the gathering in 2 weeks and hearing it there. I wanted you to have space to feel whatever you're going to feel beforehand. The small get-together at Nina's place. Liam and Isabella were explicitly not going. I'd agreed to stop by mostly because I didn't feel like losing friends over Liam's spiral. Thank you, I said, and I meant it. But honestly, I'm fine. You sound fine, Sophie said. Healthier, actually. I feel healthier, I admitted, a little lighter. That's because you dodged a disaster, she said flatly. We all knew it. We were just waiting for you to see it. I smiled. Well, I see it. We chatted a bit more, mostly about work and random friend updates. By the time I hung up, I felt nothing about Liam. Nothing at all. And that nothingness felt like a milestone. The next couple of weeks passed quickly. Work was smooth. I got 2 major reports in early. I hit the gym consistently. I slept better. I even started reading again, something I hadn't done in months. When the day of the gathering came, I didn't dread it. I didn't overthink my outfit. I wore jeans, a soft sweater, and mascara. That was it. That was enough. There were about 15 people there when I arrived. Good food, warm lighting, music low enough that you could actually talk. Sophie and Claire greeted me warmly, each giving me quick hugs. Nina made a plate for me, even though I insisted I could do it myself. People chatted, laughed, passed around brownies. Someone made a joke about fantasy football. It was easy. Then halfway through the evening, Nina nudged me and said, Hey, can we talk for a sec? We stepped onto her balcony, the Seattle night cool and quiet. Okay, she said, bracing both palms on the railing. I'm going to tell you something, and it's bad. I exhaled. About Liam. Yeah, she said. It's about Liam. I nodded. Go ahead. Isabella dumped him, she said bluntly. Like last week, out of nowhere. I blinked. Already? Oh yeah, Nina said. Apparently she met someone at her firm, a lawyer who went to Harvard or something. She literally told Liam she was upgrading to someone who's more aligned with her long-term vision. I stared out at the city lights. That sounded so exactly like Isabella. It was almost comical. It gets worse, Nina said. She kicked him out that same night, midnight. He had to stuff his clothes into trash bags because she wouldn't let him take the suitcase she bought him. And remember that Gucci bag she gifted him for your anniversary? I looked at her surprised. The one she bragged about getting him at 40% off, that one, Nina confirmed. She took it back, said it didn't suit him anymore. I let out a slow breath. Where is he now? I asked. Living with his parents in the suburbs. Nina said he quit his job because Isabella told him it was beneath the lifestyle she was curating. And now, no income, no resume explanation, no direction. A small, dull ache flickered in my chest. Not for him, for the idea of wasting 3 years on someone who was this easily molded by shallow people. Nina hesitated, then added softly, He's been asking us if you're seeing anyone. I raised my brows. Why? Because, she said carefully, I think he thought you'd be waiting in case things didn't work out. A slow, steady calm washed over me. Not a chance, I said quietly. Nina nodded with relief. Good, because you deserve someone who chooses you the first time. A few days later, the final shoe dropped. A text from an unknown number. Unknown, Elena, it's Liam. I know you blocked me. I don't blame you. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Isabella and I broke up. I was so stupid and shallow. I threw away the best thing I ever had. You were right about everything. I miss you. I miss us. Is there any chance we could talk, even just for coffee? Please. I'm so sorry. I read it once, then again. 30 seconds passed. Then I hit delete, blocked the number, and felt absolutely nothing. Not victory, not revenge, just clean, quiet certainty. Later that afternoon, Nina sent me another message. Nina, also, are you seeing someone? Because Liam asked again today, and I told him it was none of his business. I smiled at my screen. Funny enough, I was seeing someone kind of. I'd matched with a guy named Caleb a week ago. He was a high school teacher, drove a Toyota, no design or anything. His profile said he valued authenticity over aesthetics. We'd already gotten coffee. It lasted 3 hours. We had dinner plans next week. For once in my life, the simplicity felt good. Not flashy, not curated, not for show, just real. And that was all I wanted. 3 months after the night everything fell apart, I barely recognized my own life in the best possible way. It was early November in Seattle, the kind of brisk but bright weather that makes the whole city feel freshly scrubbed. The trees along the street near my apartment had turned that perfect copper gold, and every morning I walked through a blanket of crunching leaves on my way to the gym. My routines had settled back into me like bones realigning. Wake up, gym work, dinner with friends, or a quiet night reading. Sleep. No emotional chaos. No tightness in my chest every time my phone buzzed. No wondering whether I'd done enough, given enough, earned enough to be good enough. Instead, peace. And then, right as things were leveling out, something unexpected happened. My boss called me into his office. He closed the door, gently sat down across from me, and folded his hands. Elena, I'm going to get straight to the point. He said, your work these past couple of months has been exceptional, focused, consistent, sharp. I blinked, unsure where this was going. We're promoting you to Associate VP, he continued. Effective immediately, your new base salary will be $195,000 with performance bonuses up to 30. For a moment, I just stared at him. Not because of the amount, though, yes, that mattered. Not because of the title, though. Yes, that mattered too. But because the timing felt ironic in a way life loves to be. When I'd been with Liam, he'd made me feel like I wasn't ambitious enough, not successful enough, not accelerating fast enough, not shiny enough to match the version of success he wanted to parade around. And yet the moment he was out of my life, truly out, everything in mind sped up without him. The irony didn't sting, it soothed. Thank you, I said quietly, meaning it with every fiber of my being. He smiled. You earned it. That night I went to the gym and lifted heavier than I ever had. The sweat felt good grounding. I wasn't working out to distract myself anymore. I was doing it because I liked feeling strong. Afterward, I showered, put on my comfiest sweater, and made a simple dinner. I lit a candle. I played music softly in the background. It was the most ordinary, perfect night. A week later, I went to Nina's small get-together. I didn't dress up. I didn't try to impress anyone. I didn't worry about who would be there because I already knew Liam wouldn't be. When I walked in, the room actually brightened. Elena, Claire said, pulling me into a hug. You look amazing. Promotion glow, Sophie added, raising her glass. I laughed because maybe it was. We spent the first hour eating, talking about work, catching up on little things. It felt good, effortless in a way I hadn't realized I'd been missing. Then Nina pulled me aside with that brace yourself look again. Okay, she said, exhaling. Final update on the Liam situation. I raised a brow. There's more. Oh yeah, she said grimly. It's a whole saga. We stepped onto the balcony, cold air brushing our cheeks. Isabella dumped him, she repeated. I told you that part, but what I didn't tell you was how she did it. She took a sip of her wine, eyes widening. She told him he wasn't aligned with her professional trajectory, and then this is the kicker. He needed to reevaluate his contribution to the relationship's brand. I stared at her, speechless. She said that, I asked. Word for word, Nina confirmed. Jason overheard it. She didn't even say it quietly. I almost laughed. The full circle absurdity of it. She told him to pack his things right then. Midnight. Nina continued, and she did not let him take anything she bought him, even stuff he used every day. Said they were brand-specific purchases meant for her lifestyle, not his. So what did he leave with trash bags? She said. Literal trash bags. He had to Uber home with them. I bit my lip, trying not to wince. And now, I asked. Now, Nina lowered her voice. He's living with his parents in the suburbs. He quit his job because Isabella told him it was too low level, and surprise companies aren't eager to hire someone who suddenly has a 3-month resume gap and a vague story about exploring opportunities. I exhaled slowly. The sad part wasn't where he ended up. It was how predictable it all was. "He's reached out to all of us," Nina added. "Keeps trying to explain, trying to apologize. At first we tried to be supportive, but then he started asking if you were seeing anyone." I blinked. "Why?" "Because," she said gently, "I think he wanted you to be an option." An option, not a priority, not a partner, a fallback. "I'm not anyone's plan B," I said simply. Nina smiled in relief. "Good." 2 days later, the final chapter wrote itself. An unknown number texted me at 9:14 a.m. "Unknown. Elena, it's me. I know you blocked my number. I don't blame you. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Isabella and I are over. I was blind and shallow, and I ruined everything. You were right about everything. I miss you. I miss us. Please, can we talk? Even just for coffee. I need to apologize to you properly. I'm so sorry." I stared at the screen for a few moments, not because I was tempted, but because of how familiar it all looked, the panic, the regret, the sudden realization that the simple life he'd dismissed was worth far more than the flashy one he'd chased. It was the same script he always fell into after consequences hit. I deleted the message, blocked the number, and went on with my day. A few nights later, Caleb and I grabbed dinner at a cozy little restaurant with mismatched chairs and warm lighting. He told me about his students, about the kid who used to hate reading but now loved graphic novels, and about the senior who wanted to be a journalist but was terrified of rejection. We talked about books and hobbies and bad movies and good pizza. His eyes crinkled when he laughed. He listened when I talked. He didn't need me to perform success for him. When he drove me home, he said, "I really enjoy spending time with you." And I believed him. Not because he said it perfectly, not because he had a car that turned heads, not because he made 6 figures or wore a designer watch, but because he said it simply honestly without agenda. There was no performance, no curated image, no competition, just 2 people talking, learning, connecting. And in that moment, I finally understood peace isn't glamorous, stability isn't flashy, consistency doesn't trend, but they're worth everything. And after everything I'd been through, I wasn't about to give them up. Maybe this story touched something inside you, a moment you lived, a feeling you once carried in silence. We've all been Elena at some point. We've all stood in front of someone we loved, holding out our hearts, our plans, our quiet dedication, only to be told it wasn't enough. To be told we were too mediocre, too safe, too boring for someone who was busy chasing a mirage of a better life. It hurts not because it's true, but because we believed for a second that our worth was something they had the power to measure. But here is the truth that Elena found, and that I hope you find too. You are not a stepping stone for someone else's ego. You are not a placeholder until they find something shinier. Stability is not a weakness. Loyalty is not a lack of ambition. And peace is the most expensive luxury in the world, one that cannot be bought with a Tesla or a high-rise condo. If you are currently in that season of silence, walking away, rebuilding, finding your own rhythm again, please know that the best revenge is not anger. It's not making them jealous. It's not proving them wrong. It is simply quietly healing. It is reaching a place where their opinion no longer holds the weight of a verdict, but the lightness of a memory. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts or your own experience in the comments. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who didn't see your value until you were gone? Tell me your story, and tell me where you're watching from so I can create more stories just for you, because you are enough just as you are. See you in the next one.